Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our very first podcast. We're calling it episode one of Ask Greg or Mr. Tire Changer. My name is Erica. I am Greg's daughter, and this is Greg. Say hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Um, so we are recording from our shop here in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, G&K Equipment. Um, Greg started this business over 30 years ago, maybe even 35 years ago now. And I thought the theme of this podcast could be like an introduction. He could tell us a little bit about himself, about the business, a little bit about his work experience and history. So I have some questions here of machine repair types of questions that I'm going to ask him. We're also accepting calls, so if anyone calls in, we'll be answering those calls and letting them speak directly to Greg here. But everything's a little bit new and rough, so just bear with us. We're going to get it figured out, and we hope this is going to be a recurring podcast that we can keep doing every 2 weeks or every month or something like that. And we have a lot of great ideas. We know a lot of people in the industry that we can bring on the show, so I don't expect I'll be back. So hopefully we can get some other guys on here. But this is just the first episode. Going to do a little bit of introduction here. So with that being said, Dad, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So, my name's Greg, and I I'm a Coates guy, and I'm actually a G&K Equipment. We are an authorized Coates Parts and Service Center, and so we go out and fix tire changers, wheel balancers, and everything that Coates makes and sells. They sell lifts now, and the Amco brake lathes still we do.
And air
And
compressors they're rolling out.
yeah, they're coming out with air compressors now too. So we do and all the big stuff in garages. So that's basically who I am, who we are, and we're family operated. My daughter's here, runs the office. My son is involved in the business. My son-in-law, and we're real big on families. All of our employees are family oriented, and we put family first. We work to make money to support our family, and we look at every day and every customer as a gift from God. And even if we have a problem or an issue, I have taught the guys to make sure that we don't look past what God has for us in this person. And but if you want me to go back in time and talk about myself a little more, I was raised on a farm, and we were poor, really dirt poor. My dad worked so hard. He worked at a wire factory, and he come home with wires in his hands, and he's all greasy from head to toe, just to make enough money so my mom can take us and five kids down to the grocery store and give them the check from the wire factory, his paycheck, and then we got groceries. And then I don't know, I don't want to say if there was money left over, but I know that they gave her cash back. They just took the check and cashed it themselves. That's how it worked in the old days. And I watched him struggle on the farm. We made everything work. We had to bale hay. We had to bale hay, spread manure, plant corn, whatever we were doing. We built our barns. We fixed all the machinery. We made junk machinery work. I think that's where I kind of learned to be like a mechanic type, you know. Plus, we played music in the band, and we had a great time growing up. We played out, and we knew how to work hard. We knew how to celebrate, and we went to church every Sunday. We was in church for sure. Every holiday, every holy day, we was in church. So got hired in tire shop when I was about 15 downtown, and I worked there at the tire shop, and after school at first. And one day the machine broke down. It was a Coach 2020, right? Everybody had Coats. 1010s, 2020s, 3030s, 4040s, the old center post machines. It was great machines. And so they're like, oh, the machines broke down. And I said, Ed, I'll take the covers off and I'll look inside. So I did, watch it inside there, everything working. I said, oh, here's a problem right here. This bar is broken. They had a drive gear bar, they called it. and it all the bearing would go bad and it would break off. So we was able to find the part somewhere, like at Myers Tire Supply or something, and I put the part on and fixed the machine. And then they found I could fix them, so I started fixing them at work. And then 1988, I got married, and my wife got hired at the post office. She got insurance, and I figured I want to start my own business, so I quit the tire shop. And in 1990, I started G&K Equipment. And the rest is history. All that time, I've messed around. I called Coates up and said, I want to be a service center for you guys. And they basically said, we have good service there. We don't need anybody. And so I did all brands. I did all kinds, got my hands wet or whatever, got the experience. And in 2012, the Coates guy retired from Pittsburgh, and they said, like, hey, I called up one of the Coates guy, and he interviewed me, and they had a meeting, and they said, you're the guy. So that's why I became the actual Coates Parts and Service Center.
In 2012?
2012, yeah.
Okay. So I started working for you in 2016. So that's about 10 years ago now that I've been here. Yeah, I like hearing that story because now, it's just super busy. There's a couple guys working for you, working with you, helping you. We have a couple guys on the road. And I was just trying to look at our customer base there, trying to figure out how many customers we had, and it was about 2,500. So it's amazing how when you started the tire shop, it was just you were just sweeping floors there, right? When you were a teenager.
Yeah, when I first walked in the door, they gave me a broom, and I thought, I didn't come here to sweep the floors, but I learned a lot because the owner of the company was sweeping the floor right next to me. And I figured if he's not so above it or whatever that he can sweep the floor, then I'm sweeping it with him. And then I recapped too. I ran molds and did all that. I used to cap tires in the back and then mount and balance in the front. I even was waiting on customers. I learned a lot at the tire shop. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of hard work and 35 years to take it from sweeping floors to maintaining that customer base of over 2,000 customers. And we service southwestern Pennsylvania, parts of Ohio, Maryland, and West Virginia. So it's a lot of hard work, but at the same time, God has been very good and has blessed you and blessed us. And we're grateful for that. In the past 10 years that I've been here helping him, that's how it started for me. He was getting so busy, couldn't keep up with the paperwork. I just thought, I have some free time in the evenings and weekends. I'll do your paperwork for you. And one thing led to another, and now I'm running the office. But it's anyway. So yeah, it's a good business. You've definitely become the expert in all things, definitely Coates equipment. But like you said, for a lot of those years, you were just working on all the different types of tire changers, wheel balancers, car lifts, lots of car lifts you installed. But can you explain the difference between being a Coates service center and a Coates technician? Because there is a difference and it's a little bit confusing, but can you just explain that?
Sure, yeah. And I don't know all the answers either, but it used to be years ago that Coates had service centers, which were privately owned businesses, and they would give them the leads, so to speak, the installs. If someone would call, they would call them. They were exclusive, and they protected their territories and everything, and they still do. And I'm very grateful for that. However, there was come a time when they decided, and maybe it's just the work ethic, or maybe people don't want to do like they used to. They decided to go with direct techs, which is a direct tech is a person who has Coates vans and parts, and they get paid. They're an employee, and they're all over the country in different places. And we are not a direct tech. We are a self-governed or whatever, self-run business that's separate from Coates. However, we have exclusive contract with them. We own the parts, we own the vans, we pay them, the employees work for us. And it's actually a very, very good system. I mean, for Coates, it has to be really good because they don't have liability. See, we have liability because we have guys on the road, we have guys working on machines. So we assume a pile of liability. And with Coates, with their direct techs, they have all that liability on them. So that's the difference. So if you're in an area where you have a direct tech, that's fine. You're actually dealing direct with Coates. If you're in an area where you have like Joe's Tire Repair or something, and he's a Coates Parts and Service Center, well, that's great too. And Coach, to my knowledge, has pretty good coverage across all America. That's their claim to fame probably early on, was that Coates was able to fix what they sold, and they have the parts, and they make what they sell. They don't buy it from another company and say, here, we put our name on this. They may do it on couple pieces, but most all Coates and Amco was all made at the factory. They own the factory, they own the parts, the metal, everything. And if you could go to the website, at least you used to be able to, and get a tour of the factory. So I would do that if you had some free time sometime. So did I answer the question?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Yeah. I have like all these questions that are more like kind of like vague, kind of like introductory themed questions.
Mhm.
But I do have specific equipment questions I wanted to ask you. These came from other people. They emailed them in. It's questions that we hear a lot out there in the industry. People just need a little bit of extra help with their equipment. So I have a little bit of a list here. So I think throughout the podcast here, I might just ask you those questions. I think they're going to be applicable to a lot of people who are tuning in or listening to this. That's actually why I wanted to start this podcast in the first place, is because over those past 10 years, I've seen so many guys call him and just ask for his advice, his opinions. They're stuck. They can't get a machine to work. And he's able to just diagnose it over the phone super quickly based on all of his experience. And he helps them out. And I thought, man, we need to do this and record it and put it out there so more people can see it and be helped out. So if you don't mind, let's take a little bit of a break from the stories and I'll ask you an equipment question.
Sure, yeah.
We get this call pretty often, and it is regarding tire changers. And people have air leaks coming out of the bottom of the tire changer. And they most often assume that it is the foot pedal valve that is leaking and that they need to replace the valve. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's the cylinder, and that's not as obvious to tell. So anyway, we get that question a lot. So Dad, how can someone tell if they have an air leak on the tire changer? Is the problem the valve or the cylinder?
Okay, so most of the time when people call and say, hey, I need a valve, can you guys come put a valve in my machine? And I'll say, okay, what's it doing? It's leaking underneath the valve. So what's happening most of the time is I just say, well, you probably don't need a valve, but you need a rebuilt cylinder kit, the cylinder rebuilt. Table clamp cylinder or the bead loosener cylinder if it's a foot pedal bead loosener valve. So what happens is the cylinder has air pressure on both sides moving it. Okay, so when you hit the valve, you change the direction of the pressure. So the cylinder is pushed in or out. We'll say the clamp cylinder. Okay, and what happens is if the seal kit is worn, the air will go around the seal kit and go back down the valve and come out the exhaust of the valve. So that's right there. You think it's the valve, but it's actually the cylinder. So how you tell is if you run the cylinder out or in, whichever way it's leaking, and you kind of look at the cylinder's moving one way or the other, right? So you can figure, well, the pressure is pushing it this way. So on the opposite side of the cylinder is a hose that shouldn't have any pressure on it. And if you just pinch that shut with a pair of vice grips or something, a pair of pliers, the air leak most likely will stop. And if it stops, then it's the cylinder. If it continues to leak, then it could be the valve. It could still be the rotary coupler. So you could start in the machine on the valve, and where the air's coming out underneath, there's a hose on top. Pinch that hose off, and if it stops, it's coming from up above. Okay. If it doesn't stop, then the valve is bad. Okay. So I don't know if that helped. It would be better if I had pictures or an actual machine here. Maybe in the future we'll actually get into a machine, but
Yeah, that's a great idea.
But yeah, the valves do go bad every once in a while, especially the older valves. There was a time when the valve was plastic inside and it would crack. Now they're metal inside the spool, or the center of the valve is metal and it doesn't crack anymore. But
Do you recommend trying to rebuild a valve or just
no,
replace the
those
valve?
valves can't be rebuilt.
No.
No, no, because I know, because before I became the coach guy, I tried to rebuild them, and there was a time when the valve company changed the size just so slightly that everything I had bought, O-rings and stuff, nothing would work. Then if the center is cracked and bad, you can't buy that anywhere. So just buy the valve.
Mm-hmm.
And the Coach valves, they're authentic valves with their name on it, or whatever the ones they sell are better than any other one you can buy. You can buy, unfortunately nowadays, you can buy almost anything online off eBay or somewhere.
Amazon.
But it's these places, they kind of go out and find another company that makes the part that'll work. And usually, and I get this call all the time too. Well, we bought a valve off the internet and put it in there, and it's still doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, now you went and you bought that valve, and you took the time and paid your employee to put it in. Now you're calling us and says you just called us the first time. In the
Right.
long run, it's better. And then if we go and fix it and it don't work like the next day or a couple of days, then we're going to come back and fix it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, unless it's something else, but most
Mm-hmm.
of the time. So you know what I mean? Just call Coates and get it done right.
Okay, so yeah, if you live in one of those areas I mentioned in our service region, which again is southwestern Pennsylvania and parts of Ohio, Maryland, and West Virginia, you can give us a call.
What's our number?
724 438 6823. Give us a call and we can get you on our service schedule, or we can provide the Coates parts. But if you're outside of our area, anywhere else, just call Coates 1-800-688-6359. I might have that wrong. Just go on coatescompany.com and look it up. They will get you in contact with your local Coates guy, whether it's the service center or the Coates tech. They'll help you identify where you can get parts and service from. And if it's not a Coates tire changer, a different brand, they usually have something online too. You can just Google it, go to their company's website, see if they can help you out. Okay, Dad, I have another question for you. Just a general question for shop owners out there. Um, Sometimes they want to expand their garages. Maybe it's a new shop owner opening a shop and they're deciding, do I invest in all new equipment? Should I try and find used equipment? What would you say to them?
What's a tough call? I mean, of course, if you're serious about starting a real business and doing everything right, you should go with new. Of course, it's always the best. Um, However, I see a lot of guys make the mistake of spending piles and piles of money, and they have no clue what they're doing. And I can almost tell. I mean, we're there installing equipment, and I can tell right then we're going to be here in another year or something, taking this stuff out, or there'll be a new owner here, or they're going to go bankrupt, or who knows what.
And just to clarify, outside of the the Coates tire changers and wheel balancers as well, just in general, like all the equipment, the lifts, the air
Mm-hmm.
compressors, because we do work with all other equipment like that as well. So there are times where we do have to provide equipment for like a whole shop.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just wanted you to address that too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good idea if they do call me or call someone in your area, like our company, because a guy or girl, a family sometimes it's husband and wife together, and they'll just start buying stuff from here or there or whatever to order air compressors off of these companies on the internet. And the compressor's way under sized. The numbers are all made up. If the air compressor industry is so misleading, 7.5 horsepower is this and that, and they got this junky little pump there. They run so fast. So yeah, call us or call someone like us who's going to steer you in the right direction. Say at least you need this size air compressor if you're going to run one one or two tire changers, two or three bays or whatever, and wheel balancer you would need. So yeah, we can at least focus them in the right direction, give them some reality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even ask questions that we shouldn't ask, like how much money do you expect to make? Do you have a second job? Don't quit nursing job or your doctor, if you're a doctor, don't quit just yet. Get the place running first. Okay. I've seen people walk away from a very good profession and chase their dream and only fail because they have no clue what they're doing. They just thought that maybe auto service was a good idea. You almost have to grow up in it or be a part of it and know a lot about it and then go ahead and start your auto service business.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, because guys come in and they say, "Oh, I sell computers, but I thought I wanted to do auto service." Well, that's the worst thing. And then you're depending on employees to steer you in the right direction, who a lot of times don't. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, if your equipment needs new, if you can afford it, yeah, is the way to go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess just do research before making big decisions. Call
Oh
your
yeah.
local equipment company and ask them for their opinions and recommendations. Right? Okay. All right. Let me ask you a wheel balancer question now, a popular one that we get all the time. You have put several videos on the YouTube channel about how to calibrate Coates wheel balancers, and there's some older models on there, the smaller ones, 850, 950, 1050, 1250. I don't know if all of those are on there, but it's those types of wheel balancers, the older ones, that some are obsolete now. Someone who has an older model Coates wheel balancer with a 28 millimeter shaft,
Mm-hmm.
is it worth upgrading to the 40 millimeter shaft, or should they just upgrade the whole balancer?
Well, that's a tough call because it costs a lot of money to upgrade it to a 40 millimeter shaft. By the time you buy the actual shaft uh, extension or adapter, so to speak, to make it a 40 millimeter shaft, you got to buy the hub nut and the new spring and then all the cones. And you could buy 4 cones or you could buy, 8 cones, 8 double tapers, we call them. I call them anyways, radiuses. And, but then you still have the older balancer. Okay, so you're spending a lot of money. It's probably about half or so of what a new balancer costs, and you get all the adapters with the new balancer. So I'm going to say before you change from a 28 millimeter, I call it inch and an eighth shaft, but I'm old. But 28 millimeter shaft to 40 millimeter shaft, I would probably consider replacing the balancer. Yes, because you get with our new balancers, you get laser guided weight placement. If it's a 15 16 1600, the 1400 is not being made anymore, but the those ones have some really nice features. They have a 12 o'clock line on a laser line on the inside. They've got the laser dot that puts the sticky weight down at 5 o'clock on the inside. You can hide behind the spokes. The width goes in automatically, so you really don't have to just pull the arm out, touch it against the wheel, put it back, close the hood, and there's no width added or anything. So there's some really nice features at the 950, 1050, 1055, 1025. There was those are all the same balancer, by the way. They don't have those features on them. So the answer to the question is don't upgrade your 950, but buy a new one. And then you could always keep the 950 if you have room, just as a backup or a spare. Or if you get busy, you have some steel wheels and you're not having any issues with the balancer, just use it for those. You know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me ask you another wheel balancer question. We probably get more questions for balancers than we do tire changers.
Mm.
So we have someone who tries to calibrate their wheel balancer and follows the process. Seems like the calibration goes smoothly and works, but then the balancer asks for half ounce calibration or a half ounce weight after the calibration. What could be going on there?
Okay, so from the nature of the question and hearing it sounds like they calibrate the balancer, and then they go ahead and say first customer comes in and they put the weights on and then ask for another half after they put the weights on. I think that's what they're saying. Uh, so there's a couple of things. Um, so we're going to assume that the calibration wheel and tire was balanced first. It was balanced below quarter of an ounce, and that it was on correctly. The mounting has to be correct. Okay, the mounting there's a lot of mistakes done with the mounting. Okay, so your calibration wheel has to be mounted correctly. And I recommend a steel wheel I recommend a smaller hole wheel, not a truck wheel, not one where you have to use a truck adapter or anything. You got to clean the back of the wheel where it bolts on, because if there's crud on there or something's on there, it's not mounting really precise. The face plate of the balancer needs to be cleaned. Okay. I've even had a balancer one day when I was looking at it, it had nicks in it where someone hit it with a hammer, and I could feel like it was pushing out. It was making the wheel a little bit crooked. So I had to get a file and get that off of there. I mean, you can put an indicator, dial indicator on that faceplate and turn it. It should have less than 1,000ths run out as it goes around. Okay, so that could be warped or bent too. Those will all cause that. However, if all that is good and you still get a half ounce, you have to be careful that your 12 o'clock is your idea of 12 o'clock and the bouncer's idea of 12 o'clock is the same. So what might happen is if it's an older model or a model where it just says, put the weight at 12 o'clock and it don't have a line, you need to walk around the balancer and look at the tire square head on, the tire and wheel, and try to determine where 12 o'clock is. You can't just lean over the side and put it on because you're always going to be wrong. I mean, I was wrong. I didn't find this out until I was in my 50s, and I was working in this teenager in the tire shop. When you lean over and put the weight on, I went around and looked. I was at 5 after or 5 till. The whole thing is they're probably putting the weight on at 5 after 12 or 5 before 12 instead of 12 o'clock. So if you're having that issue, the next time you balance a tire, get the 12 o'clock on the outside, we'll say it says 2 ounces. Put the weight on, but don't close the hood to check it. Walk around and look at it square straight on from the front and see if you're not 5 after. Usually people go about 5 after 12. They use about 1 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock. And that's why it brings up a half. And because it says a half, it may not actually be a half. It could be like 0.30, which is right over a quarter. Okay. And then that would that could possibly bump up to 50, which makes you think you're out a half ounce. You might only be out a quarter ounce or a little over a quarter. So that's an issue. Now on our balancer, like our 1500 and 1600, we have the red line on the inside. And if you watch the video on the calibration on those, you'll see where I have lined up my weight line. I have a line on. I have one wheel. I've actually ground a notch in the wheel. Then I have other ones I just have chalk mark, a paint mark or something. And once the tire's balanced to zeros, put that line turn that line on the 1500. It's shift 0 30. That'll turn that line on. Okay, then you can line it up, turn it off, count to 10 Mississippi or 10 Pennsylvania, or even Tennessee will work. 10 Tennessee, okay, because that's where it's made. Turn it back on, let it boot back up, and go right into the calibration from there. And that wheel should spin, stop, and that line should be at 12 o'clock. If it's not, hit end, and then just go right back to cal and close the hood. And this second time, it will stop at 12 o'clock. The 1600, you hit the gearbox, and you put our top secret code in. I should check with Coates and make sure we're allowed to give that out. I guess we can. So, and then you bring up the screen and you hit 12 o'clock laser, and then you get that laser on. I think in the video I did say what that number is. So you get that line on the line in the back and shut it off and let it boot back up, go directly into calibration before you do anything else. And so that could be the reason why you're getting a half. There could be other reasons, is that the balancer may be malfunctioning. You might need piezo's. The piezo's on the balancer will probably need to be replaced at some point in the life of the balancer. And it's not necessarily they go bad. Sometimes they do go bad. And I'm thinking it's from guys dropping wheels on the shaft. They pull the cone out and boom, the wheel falls on the shaft. Or, like Kenny was mentioned this morning, one of our employees, the guys use a claw hammer, or they use even like a sledgehammer to put the weights on. I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys you're smacking that wheel so hard, and all that shock goes right through the motor. It goes right into the machine, So the piezos might be bad, but if the piezos, even if they aren't bad, they will get rust and corrosion underneath the piezo, between the frame of the machine and the piezo. and that will cause the machine to slightly go out of calibration. And so, all in all, if you're trying to calibrate it, you're not happy with your calibration, you need to call a Coates Tech or Service Center. Okay.
Yeah, great. Just three more quick questions for you, and then we can wrap it up. What do you think is the number one question you're asked about Coates tire changers?
Okay. By far, the number one question asked if people are, or if you're going to buy a machine,
Or if they have one, just in
well,
general.
are parts available and can you fix it?
Hmm.
Okay. Because you can buy, you can go buy any brand you want. Okay. And supposedly, I say supposedly because they'll change tires. You can balance tires. Okay. However, there is I just highly say, Chinese stuff. This real low ball stuff on the internet, please stay away from it because you can't even guarantee that they're going to work when they get there. That's how bad they are. They're bad. And we get calls every day. Can you fix my ex? I won't say names. Okay. And I say, no, we don't fix it. And that's even in our real competitors who actually make pretty good equipment will call and say, can you fix this machine? I say, no, I can't. I'm a Coates guy. But are you going to fix the machine and are parts available for this machine? That's by far probably the most important question. Because all brands, even if they do change tires, when they're going to break down at some point. Everything in this world is going to break down. I don't care if you have Chevy, a Ford, Dodge, or whatever, it's going to break down. Okay. And you have to be able to know that someone is going to fix that for you or have a part for
Or
you.
that it can be fixed. You
Or
can
that
get
it can
the
be
part.
fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just be careful too. Here's the next question you might ask. After you say, do you have parts and can you fix my machine? You need to say, how long, how many years is that going to happen? Because some companies, after about, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out there. I'm thinking maybe 5 years. When you call them, they say, oh, we don't support that machine anymore. Now, Coates ain't like that I know of. I mean, we've got Coates parts way back a long time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so Coates supports their equipment for a long time. Buying Coates is like John Deere. It's like International Harvester. It's like Gil Coates invented the tire changer, invented it in America by an American. It is the standard by which all other companies compare themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't know the exact number now, but when I was looking into it, I think in the wheel line industry, Coates had like 60% of the whole industry, and the remaining 40% was all of the others combined. But that was a couple years ago, so I
Yeah.
don't know what the accurate number is today, but it has to be at least the same or more that they control.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are, but uh, it seems like it's that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like one guy calls me and says, can you fix this tire changer of mine? The name on it, he says, and I'm like, no, no, I'm sorry, we don't fix that kind. And he said, well, it's a Coates. I'm like, uh, no. So what was the name? He said, I said, no, it's not a Coates. He said, well, when I bought it from the salesman or off the internet or something on a company, they said Coates makes it for them. And I'm like, no, we don't
Oh,
make that machine. It's not a Coates. They just flat out lied to him.
oh,
So
geez.
yeah,
Well, that's actually a good point. Coates doesn't make machines for anybody else. Coates makes their own machines.
right. Not that I know of. Not that I
Okay.
know of. I don't know of any other brands. I mean, we have a different name, like our baseline brand and stuff, but I don't know. I mean, years and years ago, there was some Amco brake lathes that were red and said Snap-on them.
Mm.
Snap-on actually bought brake lathes from Amco, but that's no longer happening. So
Okay, so if I asked you what's the number one question you're asked about Coates wheel balancers, would it be the same question?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. They want to know, can we get parts? Because a lot of people have been burnt. They've been burnt by companies who can't get them parts. They're waiting for parts, and you hear this a lot because mostly, mostly everybody's foreign. Okay, Coates is American, right? So they'll say, parts, we're waiting for the part. It's coming through customs or something. And we just can't wait. We're waiting and waiting for this part on this balancer. I don't know why we even bought it for.
Mm.
That doesn't happen with coats very often. Now, there's times when we do order a part and it's not coming for some reason we don't know. It may take a little while longer, but most coach parts can come. As long as it takes them to put it in the box and give it to UPS. I
Mm.
mean, that's coach. If you saw the factory, you would see the parts all down there. They have the parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, one last question, then we can wrap this one up. And it's just a general question. Just a word of advice to any of the younger guys out there in the industry or thinking about getting into industry. If you could tell them something, what would you tell them?
Well, if I look back at my life, okay, there was a time when I was sick of changing tires, okay. I was doing it for 13 years, and it wasn't changing tires that I was sick of. It was the actual other employees and the customers. It was that the same customers year after year after year would come in there. The guy would say, "Give me that nail." I pull a nail out of his tire. "You see that nail? You wait till I get a hold of my son. He run over this nail." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Another guy would say, "My wife, she always runs over these nails." I'm like, "Well, maybe you ran over the nail. I mean, how can you know where the nail came from?" And it was so I was sick of the customers. Okay. If you want to make a move, don't be afraid to make a move. Because nowadays, in the way that this economy is in America, and thank God that you're American, get on your knees and thank God that you were born in America. You can start a business. Don't be afraid to start a business. Go out on a limb. Be wise about it. Don't quit your day job or your good job. Start at night. Do it on weekends. Start in the backyard. Start in your garage behind your house. Slow and let it grow. And that you don't know where you could go from there. But it's always the guys who, like I said, we talked earlier, who go out and spend 100,000 or whatever on equipment alone, buy a building or rent a building. Renting too, that's another mistake. So don't be afraid to start your own business. Okay. Um, Other than that, I get on your knees. Okay, and ask God for advice. Pray God will you're doing and you're in His will and you're doing what He approves of. Stay married or get married first, okay, and have children. Don't wait. Do it while you're young because look here. She was a nuclear engineer, right? So she walked away from being a nuclear engineer to run my business. And everybody, her mom, my wife, she thought it was a big mistake. She got all mad and we didn't know what to think. Now she's turned this business like I don't even want to say anything on the internet, but it's just amazing what she's done with our business. So have children. I don't care if you can afford it or not. You can't afford not to have children. Okay, and get married, stay married, and because you need help, and make sure your wife's on board with your decisions you make because that could be rough. Okay, if she's not on board, we know that from past experience and other friends of ours and stuff. Yeah, if the wife's not on board with what you're doing, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So go to church on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You need help. Don't try to live without Jesus, okay? Because it's a rough life, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, that was it for this first episode. So thank you.
Well, thanks for
And
watching. Yeah.
yeah, thanks for tuning in and watching. If you do have any questions from anything you've heard, just respond to the video. Give us a call, an email, anything. Just try and get it to us. And then be patient. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. It's usually pretty quickly, but it can take some time because we're a little bit busy usually.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was episode 1, and we have plans to do another episode in the next 2 to 4 weeks. I don't know exactly when that will be, but I have some really good ideas for some other people that we can bring in here too, with you. So, thank you guys,
Yep.
and we hope to see you next time.
Yep. Turn the computer off and go get to work.